You can either be a gooner with excuses, or you could be a godly bad boy with a full sack. Now, there's of course a bunch of other different things that you could be and do in this life, but for the sake of the dichotomy and the juxtaposition that we're going to have in this video, those are really the two this or that we're going to be looking at. Because at the end of the day, it's not a matter of this or that, it's a matter of this and that. And everything is always united. We're always in unity. There's this spiritual sense of unity at all times that we can be with and access. And yet at the same time, you know, this is going to be for the people who are ready for this type of video, okay? So with that being said, the godly bad boy with the full sack is being noticed by many women right now. I get the sense that there's a lot of men out there who are at least striving to be godly bad boys or are godly bad boys with full sacks, and they're being very noticed right now as we approach Hot Girl Summer. Now, Hot Girl Summer it's a wonderful time because we've got the spring sundresses coming out, and there's nothing wrong with admiring a beautiful woman. Okay, if you're practicing retention, nothing wrong with admiring a beautiful woman. But if you lust after them, that's where you get the sense of the other. Okay, that's why lust is kind of so degrading to your soul, is because you induce this sense of separateness in yourself and the other. Because when there's love, especially as a godly bad boy with a full sack, there is no other. There's just us, being together. Whereas when you're in lust, you're like, oh, I need to have that woman over there, rather than trusting that the woman who is for you and wants to be with you in the spirit of this moment is already with you. If you can say to yourself that you can ignore the linear time, you can ignore reality, and you can trust that you don't need to chase, you just need to be aligned with who you want to embody and the outcome that you want to embody, then things start to just make a lot more sense. However, there's going to be a proclivity for many men they don't even know that they're doing this, and they're inducing this separateness. And I know this because even myself, I've noticed this, where I still there's just a few little attachments, right? For example, like I have a few attachments to my root or my sacral chakra in the spirit of the time that I didn't really knew that I had up until the last week and a half or so. And I haven't had, for those of you that actually follow my channel, we talk a lot about semen retention and celibacy on this channel, and the spiritual qualities of those things, because we talk about really anything and everything, but there's main pillars that we go through here. And I haven't had wet dreams or nocturnal emissions for months, and then all of a sudden in the last 10 days or so, I've had 6 wet dreams. Now the thing is that they're not dreams really, because I'm just waking up to the nocturnal emission, let's say. There's no dream, and I dream every night. I track my dreams. I have 2 to 3 dreams every single night. And the more that I let go of my earthly attachments from my root and my sacral chakra, and the more I connect to Christ in the sense of the soul of existence, the more I embody the outcome that I actually want. It's like all of a sudden all of these women are coming out of the woodworks, and it's not just in time for Hot Girl Summer, but it's like the more you change your psyche, the more the more things around you change, right? And so I'm noticing all these women noticing me in a certain way, especially after the nocturnal emissions. Now, of course, I'm aware that the release of the nocturnal emissions and the, wet, and whenever I had a wet dream in the past, I knew that women would always kind of pop up a little bit more because they can sense that you're not as you're not as much of a lion, right? Like they're not as intimidated because you're not like a fully loaded gun ready to shoot off at any second. Whereas when you've released a little bit of that tension in your sacral chakra or your root chakra, then there's this kind of easiness. Women, they're not as intimidated by you as they would have been, and so I know that that's part of it, right? But I also know that I've never had this many wet dreams or nocturnal emissions at once in a week and a half before in my 4 years of semen retention and celibacy. Never had that many in a week and a half. And I genuinely trust that it's because it's like a somatic reset. For those of you that don't know what, the somatic reset is, it's essentially your nervous system, or what the Regal Change old timers know as the solar timeline interface, as I call it from the Regal timeline theory, that your solar timeline interface is more at ease, because awareness is light. And so the more aware you are, the more light you have, of course, not just outside, but internally. And Christ in the Gospels said, if your eye be single, let it be full of light. Well, it's not just like this third eye, it's your whole being, right? It's your whole essence of being. And so this is why women will notice you more as a godly bad boy with a full sack. Because even when you have nocturnal emissions, you still have a full sack. It's not just it's not just a way of actually just holding in your semen. It's a philosophy of life. Okay, and my philosophy of life is no philosophy of life. And my way of being is no way of being. It's essentially, you might call it the Tao, right? Or the Tao. And this is pertinent to the reconfiguration of anyone's internal architecture. Because if you want to have, it's like 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning when I'm filming this. And it was quiet as a mouse. And now we've got people working on stuff already. And it's a holiday, technically speaking, so that's kind of surprising. Well, it's not really surprising, it's just... it's all, it's like the Michael Jackson song, Wanna Be Starting Something? Man, they're always starting something. I've got that song really ingrained in me right now. That, and then Baby Be Mine. Because Michael Jackson, we talked a little bit about this in the Regal Academy yesterday. Michael Jackson was such a phenomenon, and he still kind of is an enigma. And I do get the sense that his soul is being remembered in a certain way right now across the collective, because I know that I wouldn't be so in tune with this if it weren't for that. And I've actually had the great fortune of seeing Michael Jackson in my dreams recently. And he's essentially told me that, like, it's nothing to be afraid of. It's nothing to worry about. And I said to him, I basically said, well, I'm not really worried, I'm not really worried. And he was like, well, remember that. Okay. So I'm remembering. And I suppose that's really what we're here to do sometimes, is it's to learn how to love and to be love, learn how to remember, and learn how to be there for one another. Because really there's just the oneness of life anyway. And women do get this sense that, especially for the godly bad boy with a full sack, women sense this on you. It's kind of like, because Michael Jackson, I learned, he practiced semen retention and celibacy, and I can see that. Now, I don't know if this, I intuitively feel that this is true. And if I connect to Michael Jackson's spirit and the spirit of the time, if I channel his energy and share his permission. Well, Michael, do I have your permission to share this? He said he practiced celibacy. He said he did. Now, why did you do this, Michael? He said for love. And I do have his permission to share this. So I'm getting the sense that the more I just be at frequency and be attuned to the higher realms, the more people either notice me entirely or notice me not at all. And Michael, he chose to be noticed at all points. He wanted to be the biggest star in the world, right? Well, why is that? Well, because he wanted to change the world. He really did. He wanted to change the world. And of course, everybody has their problems and issues and such. But I don't think Michael Jackson did what he's accused of doing with certain, people. I think the people that did those things are the ones accusing him. And I don't actually really need to think about it, because I could ask him right now if I really wanted to. Here's the thing. I mentioned this again in the Regal Academy yesterday. It's why would you travel the world if you could travel the astral plane? Why would you do all these things in the world? And it's the same thing that goes for people. Why would you be sad about people dying if you can just still connect with them in the electromagnetic satellite being that you are through your solar timeline interface? Because we're all light. I mean, think about this. This is why I call it the solar timeline interface. Everybody that's ever lived has seen that light, that sun. Because as the Buddha says, there are three things that cannot be hidden: the sun, the moon, and truth. Okay? Again, it's not a matter of this or that, it's a matter of this and that. The Gooners don't understand this. They don't understand this. The Gooners, now that we've kind of set the backdrop for this, because the Gooners, they are not even going to be aware that this type of reality exists. And the reason that I talked about all this stuff before talking about the Gooners is because I want to deter the Gooners. The Gooners who are wanting to choose to stay Gooners. And for you here right now, this shows me that you're either, number one, you're not a Gooner, or number two, you're already striving not to be a Gooner. You want to move into godlike mastery, because that's what I do is godlike mastery. But it's not really what I do necessarily. I've kind of let go of doing things just to do them, or doing and then being attached to what I'm doing as the thing that I am. Because what I do is not what I am. It's like what Carl Jung says, I am what I choose to become. And Carl Jung also said that, we don't really need to, how did he say it? We don't really need to kill anything. We either outgrow it or we stay, stuck in it. And, or we die to it. I don't remember exactly what he said, but I know for sure he said we outgrow things. So, of course, naturally, we're going to be outgrowing the Gooner stage. We don't need to be gooners. And there's always going to be gooners. And they're not going to be noticed by women. They're just not. But the godly bad boys with full sacks who are on the journey and are practicing the journey to the best of their ability and being godlike masters of their own domain. Because here's the thing, right? There's kind of like steps to this. There's levels to this. And this is only going to be for the people that actually want to hear it, right? So the level is you kind of realize that you're not a master of the physical domain, or, of your own domain of life in general. Then you realize that you can be a master. Then you are a master. And then you see that there was never a master to begin with. There's just mastery. And then there's a place beyond that, which I know exists. I've seen it exist in other beings, and I've encountered beings who have lived there and just lived there all the time. And I can feel intuitively that I'm merging into that place, but I'm not quite at that place yet. I'm not quite at the fully self-realized place yet. And so I am doing my best to ensure that I'm not casting like separateness in my words. And I can only do what I can do by being who I am. And so that's what I'm being in the spirit of this time. I'm just being me. I've let go of the Gooner stuff a long time ago, but the Gooners, they're just never going to understand. Women don't notice the Gooners because they're so depleted anyway. But the man with a full sack, even if he has nocturnal emissions and whatnot, because I don't count those as relapses. I get that question quite a bit. Maybe I ought to have addressed that sooner, but yeah, I don't count that as relapse because I'm not consciously doing it. That's entirely a psychological and psychophysiological process. It's something to just let go of, But nonetheless, this has been, I hope, in fact, I know that the people that needed to hear this, I trust that the people that want to know about this type of knowledge and godlike mastery, etc., they are here. Because they are not there. They're here, and here, and here. There is no there. There's only a there because you think there's a there. It's always here and now. So, with all that being said, I'm only going to have one spot left for my godlike mastery for the next month or so available. Now, I could have 2 spots, but I'm currently waiting to hear back from somebody to confirm that they're ready to move forward. So once I hear back from that person, I'll be able to acknowledge how many spots I have available. But for this next month currently, it's only looking like 1 spot, and I hold the spot for that person until they are able to fully confirm or not. Geez, there's a lot of bugs out right now. But yeah, I'm only available to hold that spot for a certain duration of time just because I do have multiple applications coming in. So for those of you that are interested in the Godlike Mastery offer that I have, now's the time to apply for June. And otherwise, if you're just looking for more of a community or a group call where you have every week and you can have that fellowship, then the Regal Academy is going to be definitely more of a better option for you. So the Godlike Mastery is more tailored for intense personal transformation, whereas the Regal Academy is more for being accountable with the collective environment. So with all that being said, peace be with you. Until next time, be blessed.